So before we get started on this site, what I want to do first is watch a brief video that allows us to better know who this artist is.
She's somebody who understands the connection between music and the drum beat, the colors you feel inside now, how they have to burst out and pop onto the surface. She's a magic maker. She's an alchemist with the different color fabrics and the different patterns and how she's layering things and knotting them and pushing them around and sewing them and painting over them and letting them rest and coming back and painting over them again.
Basically, Aminah is trying to figure out how to take the materials that she has, buttons and beads, simple cotton thread, beautifully colored fabrics, cutting and pasting and putting them together to tell these oral histories in a visual format.
What's really superb to me is that she'll use a different medium for a different idea. The way she handles buttons, like dee-dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, she is a genius at what I would call offbeat phrasing of visual accents. I mean, there's no one like her.
One of the things that was most fascinating to me when I went to her studio, to her home, was to see how she used music boxes. She would embroider and stitch these into the quilts so that the quilts became enlivened.
She'll work with almost anything. She'll make art out of almost anything. So there's never a limitation about materials.
Now she makes this kind of mud hogmog.
Hogmog is a mixture of pig grease, homemade dyes, and brick, all stomped out.
Those sculptures that are made with that material, they seem like petrified people. Beautifully done. I was certainly inspired when I saw her work. I mean, she's very diverse. The work is rich and lush.
To be face to face with Aminah, to be in the space that Aminah works in, it's like just a humming vortex of creativity. She is so specific in her vision, and she is so committed to, as she calls it, staying on the path.
Aminah Robinson is one of the most creative people I've ever met, seen, known. I've always said, you don't know where you're going until you know where you've come from first. And Aminah's work really puts that squarely on point.
What I am is a hard worker. I work all the time, and I love it.
The most honest way to approach Aminah is just to flat out say there's nothing ordinary about Aminah.
All right, so let's get to Aminah's website, which is right here. And this enables the music box, which you can do if you want, but for me, it's a little too distracting, I think, for the video. But that's important to her work, so go ahead and click on that when you're at your house and then allow. So we're going to click here where it says create your own artwork. We're going to click to enable, allow. Will the music box play now? Yes. So I'm going to pause it just so you can hear me. And then I'm going to get back to this new tab. And as you can see here, it's just a small window. So by clicking on this square, it allows us to get really quite large. And this website is so interesting because we get to create our own masterpiece, choosing our backgrounds, different supplies that we want to use that are very similar to Aminah's. So let's go ahead and get started. And we can first pick our background. So I'm going to pick this one. And then down here, there's all these different things that we can do. All right, so this is telling me to choose a category. So I'm going to click paper, and I just did, oh, that's too similar, I think. And then I can move these pieces of paper around. There's some yarn stitching that I can add on top of it. But I thought this was really neat because there's all these different materials that we get to use and kind of move about. remember how in the video we saw that she used lots and lots of buttons? So we could overlap these buttons in a corner. And what I did is I just clicked a bunch up here, and then that way it allowed me to just kind of drag them to where and how I wanted. But this website, I think that you guys should be spending a good amount of time on, because there are so many different options that you can choose, so many different objects that you get to pick from. And as you noticed within her artwork, it's really important that you do that layering piece of it. She does that. Let's see. Yeah, so there's just a lot of really nice stuff. And even after you place one thing down, you could move other things that you've placed down. And it looks like whatever the last thing is that you touch moves it to the front. So if I want this one to come above it, I just simply click on it, and it, see how that changes the order, okay? But there's so many different, I could be on this website for a really, really long time. All right. So let me go ahead and see what happens when we click save. Your artwork has been saved to the user gallery. Okay. So for this website, again, we're going to need to, if you're working on the Chromebook, to do the control key and then that window switcher key, which is above the number 6 on your keyboard. I press both of them, and then I can go to copy to clipboard, and then I need to navigate back to here where I'm working. Click once to get that cursor over at artwork, and then control V paste. And then I can double click and crop this. And you can either have it go all the way to this paper that you've chosen, or I kind of like being able to see that shadow there. It makes it look a little bit more, or feel a little bit more three-dimensional. So I'm going to not cut it all the way to the edge and give a little space there. And then I'm pressing enter. And then I can scale this down to the size that I want. And because I've done this and I understand what these steps mean, I'm going to actually delete that. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to move this up because I really like this artwork. So I'm going to, and it's a long landscape. So I'm going to use more of this space so that I can actually show off my work. All right, have fun with this site.